Hey, Job here. Yes, like Job on Arrested Development. On fully invested FI, I invest 100% of my income and live out of my Robinhood brokerage account. I've been doing this since the end of May 2025, and today I'll be going over the week 47 portfolio update since I started this strategy. And the idea is that this should hopefully bring me to an earlier retirement at 40 years old. It's a very aggressive strategy for sure, but after almost a year of running it next month, I've been very happy with it, and honestly, it's been amazing to see how fast my gross portfolio balance is growing. I'll get into all the details today, breaking down my big outperformance this week, dividends received, and the usual portfolio thoughts and finance video of the week. It's been another surprising green week in the market this week, even with the Iran peace talks breaking down over last weekend, and the Strait of Hormuz ended up reopening later in the week amidst a ceasefire. The market stayed green with all that this week. Personally, I still, again, don't quite trust it. I feel like it's still pretty unlikely a deal is going to be reached. And I can kind of see this conflict going on for much longer, and the market will get dragged down again. But hey, who knows? Weirder things have happened. You never know these days. Regardless of what happens, I'll keep DCAing, whether the market is red or green. And yeah, I'll just keep to the strategy, right? On a personal note, this week was my first week at my new job. It was exciting to finally get back to work after being laid off back in February. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting my first paycheck next week, along with my $15K signing bonus. It's going to be a fun one to invest. And yeah, from there on out too, I'll be getting paid weekly, which is great. So a lot more paycheck investing videos to come. And with all that said, as usual, you'll get radical transparency on my channel. Whether the market is up or down, you'll see all my real numbers and see exactly how much skin I have in the game for any given position. If you appreciate all that transparency, give a like and subscribe. As usual, just a quick disclaimer, this video is for entertainment and education purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here should be taken as financial, investment, or tax advice. I'm simply sharing my personal investing journey and documenting my own results. So yeah, just make sure you read the disclaimer properly. And as far as the monthly flowchart of how I invest all my income, so this is the layoff edition. Feel free to pause and take a closer look if you want. This really is my last week of doing this. As you saw in my last paycheck investing video earlier this week with my last unemployment check. I'll be updating this chart for next week for when my new paycheck is coming in going forward. So stay tuned for that. And with that said, let's just dive right into the portfolio. So if we pop over to Robinhood, we can kind of see my live portfolio here. You can see my real numbers, all my positions. And yeah, I can kind of see that it was another green week in the market here. So my portfolio is hitting some record numbers, 183.6K here. I was up 2.32% on Friday, or 4.1K, and overnight it's kind of staying green. If we go over to the week, I'm up 9.65%, which is crazy, or 16.1K on the month. Finally back in the green here, up 23.1K or 14.44%. On 3 months, back in the green as well, up 13.5 or 7.98% year to date. Finally back in the green here, and yeah, even outperforming where I was in January. So yeah, just this big run up in the last 2 weeks, right? So up 10.7K or 6.19%. And then if we go all since I transferred over to Robinhood July last year, I'm up 10.75% or 17.8K. So yeah, just a big run up from the last 2 weeks on all the surprising positivity with the conflict in the Middle East still going on, but with the ceasefire kind of in place for the next 2 weeks. It's going to be the last week now. But yeah, we'll see. This could very well still drop. Like we dropped all this in the months previous. So we'll see if it ends up dropping that again once the ceasefire is done. But we'll see. As far as the spreadsheet, let's dive right there to kind of just look at the numbers a little bit more in depth. So if we add up all my assets, right? So across my growth side and my high yield side, I'm sitting at 348.5K of gross portfolio value. I'm using 165.6K of margin. Basically, that margin pays all my bills, but that also kind of gets replenished and paid down as dividends come in every week, right? And then, so that gives me a net value of 182.9K at the end of Friday's close. So yeah, just like record numbers all around, both in gross portfolio value and net value. Gonna enjoy it while it lasts, but yeah. And then if we turn to the total return column over here and also the unrealized gain loss column, so this is kind of continuing to kind of flip green, which is nice to see. I honestly kind of forget what that felt like after the last few months of red that we've had. But yeah, on the growth side, everything is green except for ORR. That's kind of still lagging behind just because this got hit I basically invested right at the top, and then after the war in Iran broke out, so this kind of fell quite a bit and got affected much more by the Strait of Hormuz being closed. So yeah, hopefully this kind of comes back up, but yeah, not too worried about that there. XPay continuing to do amazing, up 26% on total return, or 11.2K. Chippy doing really good, actually, has had a nice run up, and then also the dividends are kind of keeping it very in the green here. YMAX is actually almost out of the red, surprisingly, in total return. This has had a surprising turn in the last couple weeks as well too. Ulti still as well. Like, there might maybe be a chance that this kind of flips out of the red. We'll see if this kind of momentum keeps up. And then all the other ones, the indexes are starting to kind of climb back out of the red and into the green. So T-SPY, TDAC, SPY-I, MLPI has kind of switched a little bit to the red there with kind of like the downward pressure on the oil's price. But I expect this to kind of actually kind of shoot back up if the peace talks break down and the ceasefire breaks, like oil prices will likely shoot up, I'd assume. So I could kind of see this kind of going up as potentially other stuff going down. QQI in the green, gold in the green. BTCI is kind of slowly climbing out of that red, 10% to go. But yeah, we'll see. Like, the investment this week seems to have held up well for this. So we'll see if it keeps falling or it keeps going up. But overall, if we kind of come down here, if we look at the total profit on the total return side, like, so that includes my realized gains, my dividends received, and all that on margin, I'm up 59.5K or 32.53%. So yeah, amazing gains there. If we look at the unrealized gain side plus the realized losses that I've had over the last several months, I'm actually down 4.4K or 2.43%. But if you take off all the realized losses, what's nice to see is that I'm actually in the green here. If you don't factor in like those realized losses, right? So in the brokerage, this is what I would probably more see, this unrealized gain column that has kind of flipped to the green. So up 7.9K or 4.33%, which is cool to see. And even more so on the total return side if you don't factor in those losses, right? So yeah, really nice to see this. Again, I'll enjoy this as it lasts. But if we pop over down here to kind of see how that breaks down between the growth and high yield income. So on the growth side, I have 178.4K out of the 348.5K. So that's roughly 51%. And then on the high yield income side, it's 170K or 48%. So this is getting close to 50-50, and we'll probably kind of flip closer to that as I invest more into the high yield income with my new paycheck. If we check in on my margin health, so yeah, we went over the gross value, margin used, and net portfolio value. But if you take my gross portfolio value and apply the blended margin maintenance to my portfolio, so all my positions are 25% margin maintenance rates, you get this margin maintenance value here, right? The 87.1K. And if you take your net portfolio value and minus out the margin maintenance, you get the buffer here. So 95.7K is my margin buffer here. So this has gone up quite a bit with the run up. So if you take that margin buffer number and divide that by the net value, that gives you this value that you generally see in Robinhood, so 52.36%. But as I keep saying in every video, honestly, I don't like looking at this number as much, just because I feel like this makes you feel safer than you are, right? Like, if the market drops 30%, you're like, oh, okay, it's fine. I can stomach a 30% drop, but actually you can't, because this doesn't factor in the amplification of what the market drop would do to your portfolio, right? So what's important to keep in mind is this number over here. So I have to calculate this myself, but that's taking this margin buffer number and then dividing it by the gross portfolio value. So if the gross portfolio value were to drop 95.7% K, that's basically a 27.48% drop, right? So that's, yeah, a little less than a 30% drop would basically get me to a margin call. So what you need to understand here is that, like, if my gross portfolio value drops by 27%, that's actually the equivalent of a 52.36% drop on the net portfolio value, right? Because at the end of the day, it's this margin buffer number that basically separates you from the margin call. So yeah, this one, ideally, I'd want to get this number higher and higher and kind of get it well above the 30% mark, really, just so we can kind of stomach any downturns. But yeah, slowly building that up. And yeah, always kind of keeping this in mind, and that's why it's a highlighter green here. As far as my buying power, that's kind of had a nice run up as well too. It's sitting at 84.1K, and you get this by basically taking your margin total and minusing out your margin used. If you take this buying power and half that, that's roughly your cash available for withdrawal, so 42K. Yeah, just kind of want to keep this nice and high. I don't want to totally over leverage. I'm already pretty high at almost like 2 to 1. So yeah, just kind of keeping a nice buffer here. And yeah, and then with that, my equity is sitting at 52.48%. So it's come up nicely this week with the 2 weeks in a row of green days. So yeah, way above 50%. And this should get even better next week as I invest my full paycheck and my signing bonus. So excited to do that. As far as the monthly dividend estimate, so sitting at roughly $4,687 a month that I'm estimating. So that's roughly a 33% distribution yield. And that's if you factor in just basically that monthly amount on basically only the money I have invested into high yield income assets, right? So the 170K. But if you go off the full portfolio value, I'm actually sitting at like 16.78% distribution yield. So I like kind of keeping up in account all those numbers really. So really, like at the end of the day, what I'm doing is that, yeah, I'm carrying a big margin balance here, but really what I'm doing is that I'm paying $617 a month to make $4,687, which honestly is a really good spread. That's almost like a $4,000 spread and gain essentially on the debt that I'm leveraging, right? So pretty good deal if you ask me. And that's the numbers on the spreadsheet. If we pop over to Snowball to kind of take a deeper dive at some of the categories here. So I have stuff split up between basically my ultra yielders, so anything that's 30% yielding and more, my anchors on the high yield side, anything that's between the 10 and 20% mark, and my hedges, and also my growth and dividend growth anchor ETFs. So surprisingly, even my ultra yielders have flipped to the green in gains. That's including dividends received and capital gains and realized P&L. But yeah, surprisingly, I think Chippy, there was a run up for YMAX and LT, but also Chippy is kind of holding very green. So it's kind of holding everything else in its shoulders. And yeah, Bitcoin is slowly climbing out of there as well too. But yeah, nice to see on this side. Normally this is red just from all the NAV erosion. But yeah, even these are kind of getting a little bit of a run up, which is nice to see. On my high yield anchors, this is kind of firmly in the green at this point. And everything except MLPI right now is just slightly in the red. Everything else is in the green. XPay in particular, very solidly in the green, up 26.38%. So yeah, very happy with that investment that I made that other week. I basically caught like right the bottom there before it shot up. So pretty happy with that buy there. That's why honestly, like there's no timing it. Really, this just happened because I was DCAing every week. And I think this is just like a perfect representation of like why it's good to DCA no matter the market conditions. Because you never know. Could have kept going down, but also could have went up. So we'll see. And yeah, so all the other anchors doing well, T-SPY, TDAX, SPY, QQI, and then MLPI, I'm sure will get flipped back into the green eventually. On my hedges, so that's my gold, that's ORR and CLSE, which are long shorts. So CLSE is kind of firmly in the green now, and ORR is still struggling, as I mentioned, but I'm sure this will tick back up as stuff hopefully resolves in the Middle East. Then for my growth and dividend growth anchor ETF, so VU, VGT, SPMO, SCHD, QQQM, those are all solidly in the green and doing well. These have uncapped upside, right? So they've gotten the full gains of like the run up these last few weeks. So nice to kind of see nice and green. And yeah, that's how stuff is sitting there. And as far as my allocations, like the single and ultra yielders will kind of get down eventually to 17%. Right now it's 23%. I want my anchors to kind of get up to 30%. My hedges are pretty much at the 10% mark. Those will probably come down a bit as I invest in the rest. And same for the growth and anchor ETFs. That'll probably closer to 43% potentially eventually as it grows. If we check in on the growth of things, let's just do today. So we can kind of see that I was ahead of the S&P by 4.9K or 2.76%. So if we look at that here, so really this week I was up 7.4% according to Snowball, up to 12.6K, and the S&P. So this is pretending as if I had invested in the S&P in the same time as I make any investments in my portfolio. But the S&P was up 4.52%, so 7.6K. So almost more than doubled the S&P's performance, which is nice. So you can kind of really see the margin amplification at work, but in the positive side here, given the successive green days. And yeah, and if we check like on the 7-day, yeah, doing good there. On the 1 month, yeah, just kind of really flipped over as I've been outperforming over the last couple of weeks. The 3 months, just ahead there. On the 6 months, not quite. Year to date, actually flipped green there now, up 6.41% or 11K. So yeah, nice to see. As far as the heat map, you can kind of see the performance this week, right? So ORR lagged behind a bit, MLPI lagged behind a bit. So this is with everything else going green and the price of oil shooting down. So MLPI is shooting down a bit. What's nice is that MLPI won't shoot down to something like EEI or NDIV, which is nice. So that's part of why I chose MLPI over those for now. Might actually still eventually invest in those, but yeah, been happy with MLPI and kind of more the midstream companies that do the processing and transportation and refinement and all that. Like just because it's a little bit more immune to the price swings of oil, but not completely, right? But yeah, overall strong green week. HD was still in the green, but tech and everything else has kind of shot up nicely. So QQQM and QQQ is up 6.2%. Chippy pretty much matched that. TDAC lagging a little bit behind on QQQM, so you can kind of see there, and even more so for QQQI. So yeah, just interesting to see what ends up holding up or not. So T-SPY shot up nicely, just behind VOO. SPY lagging behind there too. So that's why I kind of like hold different versions of these two, because they're the same underlying index, but they have different strategies to kind of generate the income and kind of keep up with the growth. So kind of nice to see and compare and contrast, honestly, from week to week. And yeah, VGT up a lot, 8.4%, which is nice. And yeah, YMAX here up 12% this week. This one was surprising quite a bit. Yeah, the other week I think they had a lot of like crypto exposure, I believe. Like I know Misty was up a lot in the last week, even more so than Bitcoin. So maybe that kind of figured into there. But yeah, I haven't checked into YMAX's positions lately, or if there was a recent rebalance or not. But yeah, that's how this week was looking. If we go to year to date, this has kind of been mostly in the green now too. ORR still lagging behind, BTCI still lagging a bit behind, and YMAX still lagging a bit behind despite its run up in the last week, but it's quickly gaining ground. MLPI slightly in the red here, but yeah, here things are mostly in the green, so you can kind of see the spread there across everything. And what's nice here is that you see QQQs at 5.8% and TDAX at 5.6%. So pretty close to matching it. QQQI and SPY lagging definitely a bit behind there, but yeah, and T-SPY as well. So yeah, just interesting to see how those different plays on the same index perform against each other, right? As far as dividends received this week, just a light week on dividends this week. Got a TDAC payment of $166 or 16%. Big Chippy payment of 43% or $347. Got a relatively big Alti payment of $206 at 64%, and a YMAX payment at $143 at 56%. So overall, just a little over $800 this week in dividends, which is nice. So that well covered just the bills that I had this week. I only had these two bills to pay pretty much. My Amazon card here, the $50 one, and then just a HELOC payment. So yeah, that more than covered stuff, which is nice. If we look at the breakdown of this, yeah, can kind of see that all the solid anchors are holding up well and keeping their dividends. Alti, YMAX, and BTCI have kind of all eroded since I've held them like for close to a year now, or over a year. So you can kind of see how like Alti has gone from like today's dividend 64% to really 41% given my yield on cost. 56% for YMAX or 36% for all the capital I've invested, and BTC 25% this week to the actual yield on cost of like 17% for all the capital I've invested. So yeah, you can kind of see here exactly why I'm going to be focusing on these guys over here, right in the middle, just because they hold their yield nicely and still appreciate a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to be focusing a lot more on these going forward with my paychecks going forward. So yeah, you can kind of really see how stuff is shaping up for the rest of the year here. So slowly growing this monthly dividend, which is nice to see. And yeah, you can kind of see how I'm outperforming now in April compared to last year. So this will be well outperforming it. And yeah, we'll see if we can outperform May next month. And yeah, then that's pretty much that as far as the numbers. As far as kind of updates related to the portfolio, yeah, I'm still thinking through kind of like how this chart will evolve for my new paycheck, right? Yeah, I definitely won't have as much as 10.8K a month just because at my previous job, I wasn't doing my 401k because we didn't have a match. But this new company, we do have a match, so I'll be contributing to that. And then I also have an HSA as well too, which I'll be kind of contributing to get the company's contribution. And then also, yeah, I just want to get that triple tax benefit, honestly, with the HSA and invest that as well. So I'll have a little bit slightly higher medical costs going forward this year, but I'll be investing the HSA and potentially just using that for retirement for medical expenses eventually, right? So with that, like my paycheck will actually probably closer to be like $9,000 a month net that I'm getting like outside of the investment stuff that I'm doing with work with 401k and HSA. So yeah, a little bit less to invest there, but I'll be investing 100% of it as usual. Yeah, just need to decide now Like I mentioned last week, where if I do 100% yield, high yield, like I was mentioning the other week, or if maybe I do like, I don't know, maybe 90% high yield and 10% growth, just to have still some continual growth growing in there. I'm still debating. I have basically like the next week to decide before my paycheck drops, but I'll definitely let you know. Full transparency on the channel as well. But yeah, still a bigger tilt towards high yield from the 60-40 I was doing previously though. So we'll see you next week. As far as the finance video of the week, I wanted to highlight another video from a friend of the channel, Velocity Portfolio. Bob hit the big milestone this week of hitting 200K gross portfolio balance. So super awesome to see. And he's the 6-month mark of living out of his portfolio. So definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. He lives out of his portfolio as well. And yeah, he has different weightings though between single stocks, growth, dividend growth ETFs, and also high yield ETFs. So, and he also, what's unique too is that he also makes income himself by selling options to supplement it all. So very cool. And yeah, just goes to show like how you can kind of really vary the strategy to kind of work for you and work for your own situation, right? And that's why I kind of really encourage people to check out other YouTubers, check out other strategies. There's no one end all be all strategy to kind of live out of your brokerage and kind of reach financial freedom, right? It's so many different ways to do it, and everyone's situation is different. So also, not to mention, he's a stand-up guy. All his YouTube earnings go to charity, so if you support him that way, you can feel good about where your money's going in that sense, right? So yeah, definitely check out Rob. Love following his journey. He's active on our Discord too, so if you want to chat with him there, great one to follow. And with that, that's the video. If you want to keep supporting the channel and keep supporting the transparency that I have week in, week out, please give a like and subscribe and hit the bell notification if you want to be notified about future videos. If you want to keep supporting the channel in different ways, you can do that through Blossom Social and follow me there to see all my posts, all my trades. Snowball Analytics as well. My portfolio is posted in the link below. All the links are for free. You can see all the same numbers that I was showing you in the video today, all the dividend stuff, all my categories. Nothing's hidden. Love being an open book and also not paywalling any of this. I just want to be an open book and you can kind of really see how I'm doing this practically and transparently. And if you want to support the channel some extra, there's the memberships as well on YouTube for $3 a month. Get some little extras there as far as like emojis, priority reply to comments. And yeah, satisfaction of keeping the channel running. I'm not paywalling anything, so just consider this like a monthly tip jar in a way. You can do that either through YouTube or through Patreon as well, which also has all my videos for free as on YouTube. Just a little backup in case there's more shenanigans. And then of course there's the Discord. So love going back and forth with people in between videos here. Like lots of great conversations during the week as stuff is playing out. A lot of memes as well too. I had this fun one that I saw on Twitter today. But yeah, and also other YouTubers sharing their stuff in here. So definitely have a look. That's where Rob was posting his video as well. So love supporting others. Love for people to be exposed to tons of different strategies. So yeah, you can have all my trade alerts as well too. A lot of little buys of cash back. Had an $80 refuel this week, and that went straight to MLPI, which felt fitting. But yeah, that's the video. I'll catch you in the next one, and have a good rest of the weekend. Peace.